Hello, Toolboxers. Welcome to episode number 297 of the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox podcast. It's going to be a really interesting one today. We're interviewing again one of our regulars and favorites, Roman Zelichenko, former immigration lawyer and current, tech expert and marketing expert when it comes to immigration law. You may have seen his work regarding labor lists, or also his posts and his work on GMI Rocket, his work on LinkedIn. And he does an annual conference, and I'm going to be speaking at the upcoming conference for GMI, and I wanted to just let you all know that's happening and to check it out. I'm going to be talking about going from a solo to hiring staff and how all that happened. The website to register is going to be on August 24th, 21st, and 22nd. I believe it's a Monday and Tuesday. Is GMI Rocket Conference 2023.squarespace.com. Again, that's GMI Rocket Conference 2023.squarespace.com. So definitely check out there and get involved. It's going to be a lot of information, a lot of good panelists that can help you better your practice. And always with the thought of bettering your practice, don't forget to check out the latest issue of the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox magazine. Go to iltbox.com or immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com. They both go to the same place, and click on the magazine link and check out the trade magazine that just came out, issue number 7. There's a lot of good information about building your practice, niches in what we do, all this kind of stuff to just, be more successful. And that's my goal here. And along with promoting your success, I want to thank DocAwise.com, one of our great supporters who's always been, supported the magazine, the podcast. DocAwise.com is all in one form system and support system for immigration lawyers and their management of the practice. If you want to learn about what they do, practice it out, test it out, talk to an expert at their office, go to docawise.com. That's the best place to check it out there. I do want to let everyone know we've got a lot of people registered to learn and get involved with the marriage immigration course that I call the Champions of Freedom course, because we're updating it and creating much more content and adding fiance visas, I-751 information, stuff like that. If you want to register to be notified when the course is complete and ready to go, go to iltbox.com and check out the course page, and just put your name in the hat there for the enrollment, so you can register to get notified. It's going to be a great program if you're new to immigration law, if you're new to law in general, just graduated, or you want to switch over to immigration. You got the fundamentals of learning what inadmissibility is, learning consular processing, adjustment of status, the I-130 process, handling clients, sample contracts. In a box, you get to know what you need to know, and more importantly, you have mentorship sessions and mastermind sessions to talk with people in the same place you are, along with myself, to help make you great at what you do. So I'm really looking forward to that. Wherever you're listening to this, please leave a 5-star review. It's going to support us a lot. Just go do it right now. Click on 5 stars on iTunes, wherever you're watching. You don't have to leave a comment. Really, just put 5 stars. It helps support the program and get the word out about what we do. Having said that, let's get the show started. Hey, Roman, how are you? Roman Zelichenko, good to see you.
Hey, John, how are you? Thanks for having me. Excited to chat with you.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I mean, we talk outside this stuff, and I wanted to have you come on the show for sure now, because you're having a conference pop up, a virtual conference in August, so it's coming up really quick. I want you to talk about it briefly so people can know about it, but I just want to talk about one of the topics we talk about a lot: of social media marketing, in particular LinkedIn stuff. So we're going to get into that, but just so people know about the conference that's popping up, could you give information about that?
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks, John, and thank you for supporting the conference every year, as you're always excited about it. So I'm hosting a conference on August, a virtual conference, so no one has to fly anywhere, no hotel bookings. You could do it from the comfort of your home, your office chair. August 21st and 22nd, and actually August 22nd is my birthday. So I'm putting on a conference on my birthday, but honestly, from my perspective, there's no way I'd rather celebrate it. I know that sounds maybe kind of nerdy for some people or lame, but because I love this stuff and I love talking about it and hearing about it. So the conference is called GMI Con 2023. It's kind of short for GMI Rocket Conference 2023. GMI Rocket is my digital marketing agency that's focused on the immigration industry. And the conference is going to be a 2-day, half day each, virtual conference focused on digital marketing and growth, specifically for immigration professionals. And so the idea behind it is, to sort of, I go to a ton of conferences, within the immigration global mobility industry, and I love them. And, I don't practice anymore, but I still get to keep up to date on certain things. For some panels, I learn a lot for, what I do today. and I go to social media panels, like I went to yours at the AILA annual conference in Orlando, which is just an amazing panel. People were laughing so much, which I think is always a good sign of a panel. It was great. But there's no sort of conference that's devoted to immigration lawyers, and I say professionals because sometimes social media or marketing isn't on the attorney at the firm. A lot of attorneys have maybe a marketing manager if they're kind of willing to do that, or other people have sort of an operations manager, or maybe even a junior associate or a paralegal that really loves this stuff and handles it. So that's why I say sort of professionals. It's not just for attorneys per se. There's no conference that's really devoted to getting attorneys and firms and really businesses in the immigration space in the mindset of properly marketing themselves. This, you're amazing at it. You're on all the platforms, you prioritize it, but that's also why people come to you for advice and expertise on this. You're sort of one of not that many, right? And a lot of people want to do social media or other forms of digital marketing for their firm, but they don't know how, maybe, or they're not comfortable with it yet, or maybe they don't have the budget for it, or feel they don't have
But they
the budget
overthink
for
it
it,
big
or
time.
totally, at least, absolutely, they overthink it. They're worried, or they don't want to quote unquote mess up, and all these things. And the idea behind this conference is to really put together a group of different professionals and experts to kind of walk attendees through everything from like just mindset and really getting comfortable with it. I mean, you and I could go to any attorney and say, "Oh, don't worry about it. Just put something out there and you'll get better over time." But that may not convince most people, right? So, but there are people whose job it is to, like, coaches effectively, who work with lawyers and others to help them kind of overcome this, maybe self-doubt or whatever it might be. So this conference is really built around that, right? So it's like, we're going to have a keynote speaker that is a coach to lawyers and does this and is going to be inspiring and amazing. We're going to have a coach that works with lawyers on budgets and finances. And the idea there was, okay, well, after you get inspired to just even think about doing this, right, you'll then hear from a person who's an expert on helping lawyers budget their firms, their practices, and their lives. And the idea there is like, well, let's find you some budget for marketing. There may be some spend, right? You could do it for free, but there may be some spend. So how do you figure out, there's going to be folks that are experts in various social media platforms that are going to come on and really show behind the scenes, how did they create video? These are immigration lawyers who have millions of followers. They're going to talk about how they've created their content strategy. And, the idea is for attendees to kind of see behind the scenes. We're going to talk to people, and you're going to be on this panel. Thank you very much, John. About how do you hire? Some people say, this is great. I don't have time. I'm working on cases. Maybe they don't have the money to hire a full-time, in-office social media person. So maybe they start with somebody that's part-time, maybe that's remote somewhere else, all sorts of different things. And we're going to focus on that. So it's really going to be a conference that covers the entire gamut of how do I go from, not posting on social media or not having a digital marketing presence to having one in a way that answers most of the questions that come up there, rather than just say, hey, you should do it. And then that's the conversation.
I hear you. So I'm looking forward to it. I realize it's a 2-day conference, so two partial days. What do you know what time of days it's going to be in?
Yep, exactly. So it's going to be noon to 5 p.m. Eastern each day, with a 1-hour break in between. So it's quite, the idea for it is, I don't expect people to take off from work. I expect people to want to maybe join the sessions that they really are interested in. Everything is going to be recorded, and all recordings are going to go to all attendees. And so it's going to be, the idea for it is not to have Zoom fatigue. I don't want to sit on Zoom for 8 hours, but I think for a couple hours each day with a break in between is going to be fun. I will plug that I do want people to attend, as much as possible, because this is not just a conference where you're getting Zoom links like I've done in previous years. It's going to be put together in this like really beautiful metaverse, basically almost like a video game world, where people who sign up have a little character and they can walk around, with their keyboard and like interact with other people who are there through video chat. It's really cool. I definitely recommend people check it out. So the website for the conference is it's a little bit long, but I'm sure you'll put this in the show notes. GMI Rocket Conference 2023 dot
Oh, that's not too bad.
squarespace.com. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Let me talk
Yeah.
to him. I
Yeah.
thought I was done. We're getting
That's
started
okay. Yeah.
already.
Yeah. Yeah. GMI Rocket Conference 2023.squarespace.com. It's a little bit of a mouthful, but again, I'm hopefully you'll have a link there. But yeah, then they could see what the conference will look like. They'll see the lineup of the sessions of the speakers. It's going to be great.
Now, your own specialty is LinkedIn. I mean, copywriting is essentially your specialty, but that works really well within LinkedIn. And we were talking before the show how LinkedIn, to me, it's still like an open forum where you still could get so much bang for your buck. They haven't completely monetized it where it's like you pay to play. So like Facebook, like you get no attention unless you pay money. Instagram, like it's been years since it's gone that direction. TikTok is still some free play where you just go in and hit a video or it gets 100,000 views. Well, LinkedIn is still up there. You can put a post there and easily get like 10,000 views all of a sudden and like 150 likes. And that means a lot. They're more professional kind of stuff. So each view means much more. What has been the updates have you seen in LinkedIn recently that's popped up?
Yeah, so there's actually an article that came out last month. And, there aren't too many articles about LinkedIn's algorithm because, like you said, it's fairly traditional. Excuse me, it's fairly old school. And, it's not the place where you have kind of teens go in and go viral for doing kind of silly things. It's really a place where people write thoughtful commentary about things happening in their life, in their career, in the world, et cetera, for the most part. But LinkedIn, there was an article that came out recently. Sorry, you may want to cut that out. Sorry, my voice just like went for a second. There's an article that came out recently about LinkedIn's algorithm and sort of how LinkedIn is thinking about or making sort of tweaks to to how they push content, how they sort of share posts around. So I want to share just a little bit about it because I think it's interesting, especially for our audience. I think a lot of folks a lot of immigration lawyers are on LinkedIn. I mean, I'm connected with thousands of them, so I know
Yeah.
that. But not all of them use LinkedIn, and that's fine because some people maybe target individuals who are family-based cases, and maybe it's better to be on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook. But LinkedIn is still a great place to grow your sort of brand as an immigration attorney with your colleagues, right, or with others in the legal industry. Other legal professionals who may get referrals for immigration cases and not know anybody, and then they'll know you.
Another
Obviously,
part is with recruiting too. So if you develop a thing there when you're trying to hire an associate or even paralegal, like they'll know you and they'll know the brand. So like it just connects much better.
absolutely. People look at your LinkedIn profile. It's like the first thing they do if they're trying to go work for you. Or very often they'll maybe Google your person's name, and the law firm owner founder's LinkedIn profile is one of the first things that comes up.
Yeah.
And obviously if you do employment-based immigration, whether it's like E2s for small businesses or H1Bs for a corporation or anything like that, obviously your clients are more active on LinkedIn.
It's a major
So
source for NIWs and stuff like that because you're getting a lot of engineers and PhD students who have LinkedIn profiles, and they do find immigration lawyers through that. So that's another self petition kind of EB1 NIW kind of angle.
totally. I mean, O1s for startup founders
Yeah.
are growing in popularity, and a lot of most startup founders will be on LinkedIn because they find investors on LinkedIn. So everyone's sort of here on the platform, here meaning LinkedIn on the
Mhm.
platform. So I want to share with you the two kind of updates, and then I want to talk about how I'm really happy about these updates because what they're kind of saying is what I've been trying to do for the past handful of years, and also trying to teach people whoever I work with on with regards to getting better on LinkedIn. So the first thing is that so these are changes to quote unquote changes to LinkedIn's algorithm. So the first thing is that LinkedIn is going to further prioritize a person's followers seeing their posts, right?
Mhm.
Which on the one hand is like, it sounds like it makes sense. Okay, well, people who follow me are going to see my post. On the flip side, part of being on LinkedIn for marketing purposes is for people who are not in your network to see your content so that they can learn about who you are and about what you do, and then hopefully reach out to you to network, or even potentially use you as an attorney.
Mhm.
So right now, I guess LinkedIn's algorithm is a little bit more random, and so moving forward, or as of recently, when they sort of announced these changes, um, your followers will see your post more. And I think that's frankly great, because your followers are people who care about you. And
Yeah.
so they've shown that they care about your content. And so when you post, the likelihood of them liking and commenting on something is higher, because they're seeing things from people they follow. They're seeing your content because they follow you. So if too many random people see your content, they're not going to care. You might be talking about, some update, let's say matter of Danisar, right, for EB2 and
Yeah.
IWs. Your fellow attorneys are going to be interested in your commentary on that. They'll like the post. They'll maybe share some of their thoughts in a comment. So we want that, and LinkedIn wants that kind of discussion and communication happening on the platform.
I've
However,
seen. Oh,
yeah,
go ahead, sir.
no, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I've seen it. I had a couple of posts recently, and it got a lot of attention and a lot of comments and likes. But normally, once we hit a certain amount, a couple of thousand views and 100 plus likes, you'll start seeing second and third connections liking it. And I'm like, okay, I got outside my zone. I'm getting attracting other people. But the recent posts, almost all of them were first connection followers. Now I got 10,000 plus followers on LinkedIn. Plus, but usually at that point, once I get big enough on a post like that, which a recent one did, it starts attracting second and third followers, and it didn't happen. I thought it was interesting. So in one sense, for those who don't have, some people only have 500 to 200, 300 followers, it may keep it within a small group, if they're posting stellar content. So they got to go out of the way and kind of participate in creating the networking effect of the connections within LinkedIn to expand that.
Exactly. And just for folks who are listening, a second or third connection a second connection is someone who is connected to one of your connections.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of like, a once removed friend, if you will, on Facebook, mutual friend. That's a second degree connection. On a third degree connection is somebody who is connected to a second degree connection of yours or further out, meaning they maybe have zero, mutual connections or so far removed from you. And typically, to your point, John, those folks are not the first people to see your post. The first people to see your post after you write it up and you click post, are your actual followers or your first connections. So I will say that from that perspective, the LinkedIn algorithm is doing that. It's helping your file. And by the way, sorry, I don't want to turn this into a LinkedIn hour-long LinkedIn session, but somebody could be your follower and not your connection. So in theory, John, those second degree connections that were liking your post may follow you, but
Mm,
you may not be connected with them, where you sort of both follow each other and
interesting.
you could message each other. So that's possible. But nevertheless, the likelihood is that second degree and third degree connections only come across your content when you have a bunch of your first degree connections liking it, writing comments back and forth, and then one of your first connections own followers might see that, and then they go to your post and they like your post too, and that's where that comes from. So I think that's a great example. But here's a second change and second update, rather, that LinkedIn is sort of pushing now, that goes against what we were just saying in a very specific way. So LinkedIn is saying now that posts that share quote unquote knowledge and advice are prioritized through the platform, meaning they're going to be shared to more people, including many outside of your first connections. So the idea is, okay, LinkedIn is going to share your content to people who follow you first and foremost. However, LinkedIn overall is going to prioritize content that shares knowledge and advice across the platform, no matter if it's going to first degree followers or second degree connections or people who don't follow you. And so the idea there, and I love this balance, right? Because think about it. If I share a post I share a lot about, let's say, LinkedIn, tips for immigration, specifically for immigration professionals, but often just general LinkedIn tips. It is knowledge and advice, right? That
Mm-hmm.
content is useful to not just my network and people who follow me, but certainly to others who may be on LinkedIn but don't use it sort of for their business, and maybe they want to grow their business on LinkedIn. And so that content gets shared around to more people. It does well. People like it, people comment on it. Often I do have people who I'm not connected with leaving their comments, either asking a question or saying like it's interesting or whatever. And then I go in and I see who will see the new people that have liked that content. And and if it makes sense, if they're other lawyers or whatever, I might reach out to them and connect and ask them to connect with me or follow them too, right? And so then they become part of my network. And then, a couple of days later, I might share a post that's a little bit more personal. So maybe it's a picture of me at an ALA conference or something. I don't have any knowledge or advice there, quote unquote. It's just me sharing sort of a professional update. But now that I have these new people in my life, in my in my LinkedIn life, they will see that content that is, less knowledge and advice and more kind of a little bit more personal update. And then they're going to be fed that content. And so now I get to be on top of mind all the time. I got them through, some content that did really well. Now, knowledge and advice content, as LinkedIn says, and then I keep them as, I keep top of mind by sharing a little bit of a personal update, if you will, here and there. And then that goes to them as a follower of mine. So
Yeah.
I think this balance, I just want to say, John, I think this balance is really nice, because I think LinkedIn profile, this is a personal opinion. People may disagree with it, and I'm happy to talk about it. But I think a lot of people think that LinkedIn profiles are supposed to just be, tips, LinkedIn, professional tips. You're a lawyer sharing just legal advice every single time. And I do think that obviously there's value in that, but people get tired of it sometimes,
Yeah.
like they'll see your post, and if they're like, oh, it's John Khosravi, he always only shares tips about, let's say, EB2 and IWs. Not in the mood to read about that right now, or I don't really have any other questions about it. And then they start skipping your content. And when they skip your content more and more, the LinkedIn algorithm says, oh, well, you don't really like John's content that much, so we're not going to show it to you, all of his content or as much of his content to you anymore.
Yeah.
The idea to me behind mixing it up between, here's an EB2 and IW tip, and then here's a picture of me at a conference with a colleague, and then maybe here's a picture of me on vacation because I took a week off from work, and here's a thing I did, and then here's another tip. We're going back to tips about E2s, right? And you mix it up. Not only does it paint a full picture of who you are, you're not just a, EB2 NIW tip machine, right? Like, you're a human being. But then it also switches your content around, and then people get interested in all of your posts, because they never know what you're going to share. They never know what they're going to learn about you from your content, and they're more likely to sort of engage with more of your posts, and that keeps you, from a LinkedIn standpoint, always visible or more often visible to those followers.
Now, they're probably gonna use some sort of AI, but I'm wondering how they're gonna differentiate between what is considered like, tips and stuff like that, as opposed to something that, like, I have a post where, like, my career, I did this. I mean, it's like more personal, but at the same time, there's guidance in there too. So I'm not sure how they're gonna differentiate between these kind of different posts.
Yeah, so my understanding is that they are using AI to sort of kind of read through your content, and sort of, is it formulated in a way? Is it uh, targeting a specific type of person, right? Is it is it does it say, like, dear, to all the engineers out there, here's a tip about, right? And it's sort of literally addressing a target audience. Or for me, it would say, hey, if you're an immigration lawyer and you want to do better on LinkedIn, here's a tip, right? So that is addressing an audience. They also are saying that they look at whether the author is kind of an expert or a potential expert in the subject that they're writing about. And I think the way they do that is that they look at other content you've written, and they look through your profile. And when I say they, to your point, it's an algorithm. They look through your
Yeah.
profile. Yeah. So, like, if I say I run a digital marketing agency and then I'm writing about LinkedIn, there's a high correlation, or a high likelihood that I'm an expert, on LinkedIn tips, because I run a digital marketing agency. And so, like, they will, there's an the article that I read about this. They said, if you're writing about rocks and you're a geologist, that post will probably do pretty well. If you're writing about rocks and there's nothing about, geology or anything about rocks in your previous content, that post may not do as well in terms of reaching new people. But like I said, and like this article mentioned, if you're writing about how now suddenly you're into rocks, you know, because after work you're de-stressing by like cleaning rocks and because they're beautiful, whatever. Your first degree followers who really follow you not just for your professional advice, but just to learn more about you, they may be like, you know, they may like that content because they'll see it. They may think, oh, cool, John, me too. Or my kids love rocks too. And like, what a fun pastime. So they do look at that kind of a thing. The last thing I'd say is the LinkedIn algorithm looks at commentary. And specifically they look for, I guess, quote unquote, what people are calling meaningful comments. Sorry. And this is what I always tell people to do. So I'm sure you've seen, I don't know how prevalent this is anymore, but it used to be quite prevalent. They had these things called engagement pods. This was very popular on Instagram, but people did it on LinkedIn too, where you join a group of people. You don't know these people at all. It's like 100 people in this
Yeah.
group, like a chat group, a text group, a chat group, sometimes even a Facebook group, and everyone just shares their posts in there. And the idea is that if you're in the group, when someone shares a post, everyone in that group goes and likes it and like writes a comment.
Yeah.
Right. But the idea is that if it's 100 people, you're not going to be writing thoughtful comments 100 times a day. And so what happens is people write like just a thumbs up, or they write the word nice, or they automate it and they write the same thing. And so LinkedIn, and I love this, by the way, I think this is great. LinkedIn sort of looks at the comments, and if it sees that somebody's getting a lot of these like shallow, empty comments, it doesn't prioritize that content from the perspective of engagement. So it actually wants quality engagement. This is why
Yeah.
I think my content does well, yours does well. We have people who truly care about what we're writing about, sharing their own thoughts about the post. And so, and like that gets, and maybe you reply with your own longer comment. You know, it's really a conversation.
Yeah.
And LinkedIn likes that. So I want to share that. I want to share that because a lot of people, they go on LinkedIn and they read through stuff, and they, maybe they'll like it sometimes, but sometimes they feel like they're afraid to comment or whatever. If you have any thoughts or ideas about what you're reading on LinkedIn, I highly encourage you to write a comment on it, because you'll see the value of the conversation. And then if and when you become the person who's writing your own content on LinkedIn, you'll see the power that comment brings to your posts. And so I think we all should just sort of start engaging more with each other on LinkedIn through comment section.
I'm hearing you. There's a big plus and minus LinkedIn in that all the other social media sites are starting to look the same because they're all competing for like short form content that's recyclable between them. So more and more they're acting the same between Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and whatever one. Also, even probably Twitter's gonna get on that. But when it comes to LinkedIn, it's its own field that's separate, and so it's kind of annoying because you can't regurgitate content as easily. But at the same
Right.
time, you could just be good at that, and it's its own playing field you could dominate, which you've done. So it's really interesting how it is set apart from the rest in its own way.
Yeah, I mean, look, I will say this, and to the again, I'm sure most of your listeners know, but the idea is that like you can record a 50-second video talking about, one of the prongs of matter of Dinosaur. I'm just going to use this example because
Yeah.
you mentioned it earlier. And that video could be 45 seconds long. You're not answering anyone's specific questions, but you're talking about, something with regards to a potentially B2 and IW case and explaining it. You record that video, and then that video is the perfect length and the perfect format for TikTok, for Instagram Shorts, for Instagram Reels, for YouTube Shorts, right? It's a short form video with text on it. It's like quick, and it's a bite-sized information. Um, yes, just posting that on LinkedIn and using 2 hashtags is not really going to get you anywhere. But, and so, well, before the but, and so people say, well, I'm already creating content for those. I'm creating one piece of content. I'm using it in 3 different places, potentially 4 or 5 if you also put it on maybe Twitter, maybe you just put it on Facebook. I don't want to have to go back to the drawing board and create a whole new piece of content for another platform. Totally understand that, and I would agree with you that if you just post it as is on LinkedIn, it won't do well. But here's one thing. Here's a tip, maybe. Number one, you can post that video on LinkedIn just as a video, but write some comments, like write a post about it, right? So you can write out the script. A 40-second script is still going to be probably like 2 paragraphs of text, you
Yeah.
know? Maybe they're not long paragraphs, but short paragraphs. Write out the script. The script is in and of itself informative, right? And it has information that you want to share. that would be a really great way to reuse it. It's a little bit of an extra step because
Yeah.
maybe, you know, you didn't write out a script initially, so now you have to like have the video transcribed. I mean, there's automated transcription services. It'll take 5 seconds, right? But still, it's a little bit of an additional step, but it's a small one in comparison to the benefit potentially you would get from
Yeah.
putting it on LinkedIn. So that is a way to reuse some of that content. But overall, I do agree with you. You know, LinkedIn is not the place where you just put in a short TikTok video and sort of or wait for 100,000 views. I mean, the plus and minus of it is that LinkedIn does want you to be sort of thoughtful.
But at the end of the day, it's never been easier to advertise at such a low expense and reach a mass market, especially when you're doing immigration, which is federal, and you can get clients from all over the world. So, I kick myself in that I really should be doing 10x what a market I'm doing, and I'm leaving millions of dollars, frankly, on the table by not just doing more consistent product. And then it goes to the psychology of which the panel, which is having the staff members to help to create it, because it works. It's guaranteed to work if you just do it consistently. I've seen some people don't the work they do consistently, but such crappy work that it doesn't work. But it's they're going out of the way to be that crappy. I don't want to give examples, but there's some people I'm like, why bother doing it? But if you just do a basic, decent job and just do it consistently, it's going to go far.
Well, look, I'll push back on you on that a little bit in a couple of ways, and I think this is why we have great podcast episodes, right? Because there's good conversations. So, two things you said. The first one you said is like you're leaving a lot of money on the table, and I mean, probably, I mean, we all are if we're not marketing enough. But you only know that because you've been doing social media marketing and you've been doing it well for a few years, and so you know the potential. You just all you have to do is put it into next gear and hit the gas, and you know it's going to skyrocket, but you also know that takes extra effort, right? But you
Yeah,
know that because you've done it. And so a person who's listening to this or hopefully who will attend the conference, they may not be doing any social media marketing. I mean, most people I talk to, I'm like, how do you get your leads? You know, people who are interested in learning about social media, specifically LinkedIn, but frankly, oftentimes it's really any platform. And, their leads come from referrals, right?
yeah,
And that's great because it comes from family. If you do family based, like you do someone's green card, then you get their spouse, you get their aunt, you get their
yeah.
friends, you get their whole block. Like that's awesome, and that's how a lot of immigration firm lawyers grow. But the point is, they just don't even know what's possible. You know what's possible, so that's why you're being hard on yourself, John. I think you do an amazing job, and I'm sure your firm has grown quite a bit because you've done all the work that you've done. But the second thing I would say is for people, you're saying if it's kind of like quote unquote not good content, but look, those people are trying, and I disagree with you on that one because I would never discourage someone from doing social media because they're doing a quote unquote maybe crappy job. What I would do is I would be, maybe I wouldn't reach out to them and say, hey, your videos are bad, because that's mean, right? But like if a person should be educated on whether or not their content is not good. So maybe
Yeah.
they're spending a lot of time on it, they're not getting any engagement. Some people just put out content without learning about the algorithms, learning best practices. I want those people at my conference too, because they may be putting hours into creating video and putting it on Instagram, but to your point, they're not doing it. They're doing a few things wrong, or they're missing a couple things. And because of that, their content's not doing well. All they have to do is learn about best practices. And so I still think that, I just don't think it should be, if it's not doing well, why bother at all? I think if it's not doing well, go spend a couple hours or days or whatever researching and learning and trying to maybe even copy the format of people who are better than you, and then you will get better.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I want to go offline to show you this specific example, because, but one thing I did an audit of a friend's TikTok page who just got started on TikTok, and I realized like he had never watched his own TikTok before, so he didn't know how it looked like. So they had like a TikTok bar. For some reason, he would download and re-upload TikTok, so he had the barcode jumping around. He had transcripts, I mean captions, but it was in the bottom part where you can't see it because so it's like these are tweaks that you can make that's going to hurt you because people see this.
Right.
People are just switch off like what's going on here. No one else makes those kind of errors, so you got to really study yourself.
Right.
The example I want to show you, I'm not going to show the people on the show, but is like someone who just paid to get a lot of views, and so they had a lot of subscribers. But when you see the content, it doesn't get a lot of reaction because it's just so like lack of energy, like not putting any time into it to get better over years of it. So that's what kind of turned me off from them. But it's really hard to go that bad. That's one example. Like
Yeah,
if you're just yourselves and you just make it palatable, like, just decent looking, like you'll get something. You don't even need to get 10,000 views. Like you're consistently getting, like on YouTube for me, if I consistently get a couple hundred views on a video, even 100, that's all I need. Really, yeah, ideally, yeah, you get like 1 million views and stuff like that. But for many years, my firm, I was just getting 100, 120 views, and that was bringing in business. And so
exactly.
it doesn't matter. I mean, we're charging like 4 or 5 figures for legal work. You don't need that many necessarily if you're a smaller solo. Now, if you're a big firm, yeah, you need, like, if you have 10 lawyers and stuff like that, you need to create systems and all that kind of stuff. But for most of the people, just do a little bit and just get people to know you. It's not too crazy. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, couldn't agree more. Yeah, I'm excited. So, these are all the kind of things that, I'm plugging it the conference again, but I'm genuinely excited about it. I love doing it. It's my third year doing it. It's been a blast and a hit every single year since I've started. I started in 2021. And this is exactly the kind of conversation that's going to happen, like the nuances, make sure your text is in a certain place, because if the text on your video is really low, well, guess what? That's where your caption goes. That's where TikTok puts the like button. And so it's going to cover your text and no one's going to be able to read it, et cetera, et cetera. So those kind of things are nuances that once people get them, their success on whatever platform they use will, grow. And then the idea, of course, is that they'll leverage that to grow their firm.
For sure. Well, thanks for coming on. Can you remind us the dates of the program and the time,
Yes.
like that?
August 21st and August 22nd is the dates of the virtual digital marketing and growth conference for immigration lawyers. It's called GMI Con 2023. And the website, and again, August 22nd is my birthday. So whoever comes, we'll be celebrating my birthday together. But the website is gmirocketconference2023.squarespace.com. So it's a little bit of a mouthful, but it should be pretty easy.
And people should follow you on LinkedIn for sure, because there's so much good content there, and I'm sure you're gonna be posting the link there. Roman Zelichenko. I've said your name, last name so many times. It's easy for me. But I remember the first couple times.
Thank you.
That's all right.
Yeah.
But starts with Z. I mean, I put Roman Z immigration. That's everything.
Yeah.
Love, so get it. Stay on the line a little bit. I'll offline that. But thanks for coming on the show again, Roman. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, John. Appreciate you having me.
Have you ever felt that the road to establishing a successful immigration law firm is riddled with unexpected obstacles and setbacks? I've been there, and I'm here to tell you, you are not alone. Picture this. My wife, then girlfriend, and I had just landed for a vacation, only to be greeted by a voicemail that changed everything. In an instant, once the plane landed, she lost her job. The very one job that was supposed to support us while I launched my own solo immigration law firm. Suddenly, our financial cushion vanished, and I was thrust into the high-stakes world of entrepreneurship with no safety net. Despite a slow start and a discouraging lack of leads and referrals, I remained determined to build a law firm that provided a 5-star client experience. After countless hours spent researching, watching, and implementing marketing strategies with mixed results, I eventually began to see my firm's revenues not only surpass my previous revenue and salary as an associate, but double it. Today, I run a successful law firm with a team of associates and support staff, and I'm the proud founder of the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox magazine, podcasts, courses, workshops, and more. But my journey wasn't easy. I made many mistakes, wasted time and money, and wished I had a mentor to guide me through the challenges. Although I was fortunate enough to find a few peers who offered support, I couldn't shake the feeling that there had to be a better way. That's why I decided to be the change I'd wish I'd seen. This month, I'm thrilled to announce the launch of the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox private mentorship and peer group. This exclusive group is designed to bring solo and small firm practitioners in a monthly, private, and intimate setting to openly discuss business strategies, share successes, even exchange invaluable tactics that they wouldn't share anywhere else. By joining this premium group, you'll not only benefit from my hard-earned expertise, but also forging long-lasting relationships with like-minded professionals who are committed to elevating their practices. Space is limited for this game-changing opportunity. If you're ready to make a real, lasting impact on your business, simply email me at info@immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com. Again, that's info@immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com. And I'll send you all the information you need to get started. Don't miss this chance to transform your immigration law firm and reach new heights of success.